Thank you all for coming to tonight's session on breaking through these brick walls. And tonight, of all nights, I'm ecstatic and excited by many of you who decided to come tonight. This is going to be the what I'm going to call the culmination of 37 years of researching. Finally, really coming to this place and this point. Um, in my researching, I'm going to share with you some of the things I've been doing behind the scenes to try to make this make sense, try to figure out how are we related to one another. So let me get started because I'm going to cover over a lot of information tonight, but it is my prayer that it's going to make sense. So, as many of you may not know or do know, this is my grandmother and she is my motivation. So, when I say I'm related to the Stinsons, it's through this beautiful lady that I am connected. Well, I'm pausing because it ain't through her, it's through my mama. My mother's father was a Fitzpatrick, a Lloyd, and the Lloyds connected the Stinsons. So it's through my grandmother, but it's actually through my mom. But my grandmother is the focus of my research in Alabama. 37 years trying to find all of her ancestors, trying to find how, when they used to say that's your cousin, I want to figure out how. I needed to make that you, my cousin, make sense. So it's for her. The picture on the right is a photo out of Orangeburg, South Carolina, a woman that I found through researching. She looks just like my grandmother. If you look at my grandmother's head tilted to the right, the my grandmother's neck, this woman's neck, it's amazing to be able to do this journey, guys. So I absolutely love it. So let me get started. Now, DNA don't lie, it verifies. So I always make sure I put that in there because we now are at the age and where we're able to use DNA to connect the dots, right? And that's an absolute beautiful thing. So when I say that I'm related through the Lloyds, this is my ancestral line that I've been able to find, that I'm going to use tonight as a point of conversation. So you should see me, you see my mom, her father, and then all of the ancestors that I was able to find that took me to a woman named Anne Lloyd. And so I know many people have a challenge with trying to find their 1870, 1880 ancestors, and I absolutely understand that. And tonight I'm going to explain to you why you're struggling with trying to connect the dots on many of your lines. Okay. So this is just showing you how I was able to go back to 1870. And so let me take a step backwards. So my mother here, her father's name was Jackson Lloyd. So that I knew who she was. And then I knew they used to call his mother Josie Lloyd. Conversation, she was a Fitzpatrick. So I was able to construct my tree based on what people told me. But my grandmother could not go past Josie Lloyd. And I was like, well, who's her husband? So we're doing the same thing. We're using what we're being told to try to prove and structure our tree. So I knew I was following these Lloyd lines because Jackson Lloyd means his father was a Lloyd. So that whole pedigree line for the paternal side was strong until I hit Anne Lloyd. And then once in 1870, I was able to find this census that said Anne Lloyd in the home of someone named Jackson Lloyd. Now, sometimes we make mistakes by assuming they must be married. There is a 16-year gap between all of them, between Jackson and Anne. But this is where I at least landed. I could at least connect to the 1870 by following that name Lloyd and connecting those dots. But then my story was, okay, Anne, you married or you took the name Lloyd. What's your name? So now, eventually, I finally looked in 1880 census and I probably just plopped in Anne Lloyd, and I was able to see that in the home of Anne Lloyd was a gentleman named Jeer Stinson. And in the 1880 is that census that tells you their relationships. So now I know Anne and Jeer are brothers and sisters. As you can see in number 3, they were born in Georgia and their parents were born in Georgia. Okay, I got something I can work with. Now I got to figure out, and you have a Noah Lloyd in the house. There's a Dan Forson. So we're trying to make sense of all these names and these relationships. But 1880 tells us nephew, niece, a boarder, grandson. So now I know that I got names I can construct to figure out who's her family. But Anne, now I need to figure out how is she a Stinson. I'm showing you this chart because this is my pedigree chart. And once you get to near 1870, because slaves were finally being recorded in census 1870 and beyond, this is showing you in the yellow zone I call medium, because that takes you to the 1870 census, at least for me. But once I hit red, total enslavement. They were not on the 1870 census, or maybe, but now I'm in enslavement. And now I'm trying to figure out how to make things make sense looking through slave records. And this is the area I'm drilling into tonight to talk about Anne, who was born in 1834 in Georgia. The challenges researching enslaved individuals. So I'm going to step through a scenario, a case study that I'm going to call, we're going to look at Mr. Jones' family line. And this is a conversation about the slave period, right? So we're going to meet Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is not an actual person, but this is a scenario I put together. He was born 1800 to 1860, which meant he died before 1870. He's not on the 1870 census, so his whole life was during the enslavement period. But he moved to Pike County, Alabama in 1826. In 1820, he was in South Carolina. So he had one slave and no wife. So now we see he's about 20 years old, he has a slave. Well, then by 1824, he now, according to the 1820 census or beyond, he had 3 slaves and he was living in Autauga, Alabama. So he went from South Carolina to Autauga. Then in 1826, he got married and his wife brought slaves into the marriage. He started with one. Her surname was Miller. And now, by 1826, you see the calculations. There's 4 adults and 4 children. There's 8 people. Where did the rest of these kids come from? Well, of course, the slaves were having children. That's not documented anywhere for the most part, right? But we know that these numbers are increasing. By 1830, now the census tells us he had 8 slaves. Between 1832 and 1833, he purchased and bought slaves from a Mr. Carter and a Mr. Smith. So now his slave count has grown through purchases. And in 1834, he sold a slave or gifted a slave to someone named Mr. Majors. So now instead of 14 slaves, he has a total of 13. Between 1820 and 1840, he had 6 children. And when they got married, the daughter married into a line, and that means her name changed. The son took in a wife, and in between all of this, now they got 3 girls and 3 boys. So as his family is growing, his father dies, and the father bequeaths him 4 additional slaves wherever the father was living, probably from South Carolina. So now we have 4 slaves coming into Alabama from South Carolina. And now by 1850, he has 18 slaves. Well, his children get married, as I was alluding to earlier. So his son married a woman named Jones. She brought slaves into the marriage. His daughter married someone with the name Jackson. Her husband brought slaves into the marriage. But then her father gifted her some slaves for her financial security. So now we're seeing slaves are being brought in from other surnames, or the women's names are changing. to a totally different name. So in 1852, when he died, he did not put these slaves on the block for any random persons to purchase them. He gifted these slaves to his children. And everything in red is the distribution of those slaves across this body of family. So what surnames would you be looking for if this was your family line and you're trying to track your name? You found someone in 1870 named Jones, and you keep looking for Jones matches and Jones matches. You're not paying attention to the fact that these families have been separated because the enslaver's family married, bought slaves, or gifted within that family. So you're completely missing the female line of that connection. And DNA is not going to show you this. It absolutely is not. Unless someone has done the work I'm going to show you tonight, you are absolutely not going to find this information looking in your DNA matches. And most DNA matches, if they are researching this far back, many times their trees are locked. So this is sometimes where you're falling into that challenging place. So the importance of researching records and not just DNA. So I'm going to use my third great grandmother Anne as a Stinson as a case study to show you what needs to happen to find your enslaved ancestors. So one of the easiest things that we can do, of course, is let me go to Ancestry, My Heritage, 23andMe, search for a last name. So I search for the name Stinson. And in searching for the name Stinson under my DNA matches, I have Luhump, Tresha, Jeeper. These were the only matches that I had before I was able to figure it out. And so you message people, right? We're going to message people on Ancestry. Hey, I have a match to you. Do we understand what and where? For the purpose of this presentation, I said, let me look at my other family who've tested and see what their matches are looking like. Because Joni, you'll find later in the conversation, they're the Stinsons in Butler. And I don't know if I'm related to them because I need the DNA, right? I know that I'm related, but they did not know how they're relating to me. So when I search for my brother, Luhump comes back again. And then there's a couple of other people. Then someone with the name Stinson is coming in. So now I'm like, okay, I'm getting somewhere. This makes sense. This is my mom's dad's line. I checked my first cousin. Now, my mom and his mother have different fathers. So I had to only look at his maternal side. But through his maternal side, Luhump showed up again. But this didn't make any sense because he's on my grandmother's side. He's not on my mom's side, my mom's dad's side. But he comes back. Lacora comes back. Serena Bogan. I know Joan know that name. Serena Bogan is actually researching as well, and she's one of the Stinsons out of Butler. So now names are starting to make sense, but because I'm triangulating my connections with other cousins using DNA. So the DNA is helping me to solidify, but now I got to figure out my problem with Anne. James Fitzpatrick is on my grandmother's sister side, and Luhump and Lacora comes back again. But this is going to help me to understand I'm related, but these are some questions I now got. Who was the enslaver? How many slaves did he have? How did he acquire the slaves? Could I find Anne amongst any records? And where do I start? Because that's the hard, daunting place, is where do we start to look for research? So now I got to generate a different lead. I've hit 1870. You know, they say that's the brick wall. I got to bust through this wall, but where? And so all you hear is people are telling you to look in records. But the first thing I knew I needed to do, I got to get acquainted with Mr. Stinson, right? I got to get to know his family. I got to understand who is these people and where is these slaves. So in searching for Stinson in Pike County, Alabama, Makaja Baker Stinson was the oldest person, and he died in 1848. He had 2 set of children through two different wives, and these were his wives and his children. There's a lot of people. And now in Ancestry, the best thing that I could do to try to make this make sense is color code some things. So what I did is I started using a different logo for the picture to help me to substantiate how to research. So that's what these images that you see, these icons I'm using. Anything in red means they had slaves. And if the women or someone else didn't have slaves, then maybe I didn't find if they had slaves. But Ancestry is where we're starting, right? We're usually using Ancestry to collect all the information. So, okay. So next, finding your enslaved ancestor. So I've created the tree. I know the players. I've got all the records of them. I got their census records. I've got as many records as I can find for the enslaver. And now I understand the census when they had slaves, who didn't have slaves. So now I understand the family. But now I need to go beyond that, because in the family, in those records, I never saw Anne's name. Never saw Anne's name. So now I reached a stumbling block. I feel I'm getting somewhere, but not, I got to go further. So now the records that I need is probate wills, deeds, tax records, orphan records, Freedmen Bureau records, newspapers. Where do I begin? Because this is still a lot of information. So that little logo on the bottom is what I call my rabbit hole. You know that infamous, I started here, but now I got to go here. And now I got to go here. So anytime you see my little rabbit hole, that means it's taking me off the path of where I was, but it's a necessary part of the research I need to conduct. So the importance of using researching records and not just DNA. Here we go. FamilySearch.org. We're all familiar with Family Search. Family Search back in the day when many of us, I've been researching 37 years. So many of us had to go to the probate office. We had to pull the book off the shelf. We had to flip the pages. We had to look in the index. So we became acquainted with the records by physically going to the probate office. I'm in New York. That means I had to travel to Alabama, 18 hours, 2-day trip. So it wasn't easy for me to constantly always be able to go to the probate office and look at these records. Right around the time I'm doing all of this collecting of data, going to Alabama, Family Search is starting to digitize these records. And now we have come in 2025 very familiar with looking on Family Search for records, so that we don't have to go to the probate office to look for these records. Now Family Search has stepped up their game, and they're adding in this full text search. This is the more recent, last year or within the last 2 years, where now they're adding artificial intelligence, AI. So if you go to full text search, you type in a keyword or a name and a time period. I typed in slave for the period of 1750, 1840. If you're using Family Search or any other service that has slave records, you want to search Negro, mulatto, servant, indentured servant, and not just slave. All of those are the words you want to be looking for when you're looking for people who are enslaved. So on Family Search, when I search for the word slave using full text search, it brought back, now they've even reshaped the website, because a year ago it didn't look like this. Technology is forever changing. It is. And their goal is to make things simple and easy, right? But we got to understand it, and we got to understand how to use it. But everything in the word slave is pulling back what they've digitized and what they found, even though I did not say, so I didn't say a location. So it's giving me Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee. I say, okay, I need to filter this more. So I filtered it to say, give me some 1800 records. There was 415. 1700, there were none, because Pike County didn't exist then. And Pike, for the place of Pike, there was 415 records. So this is the list. And this is a group. Each group, what I've come to understand, is the actual book. So in the Pike County, Alabama deeds book of 1856 to 1861, there's 19 matches. In the second book, there's 12 matches. I'll be honest with you. I researched, I'll tell you later, but I'll research every one of these books. There's a whole lot more. than 19 pages. So that's one reason why we cannot use AI solely as our resource, because they're still working, the algorithms are still working, so they have not come up to full speed of everything that exists. It is a very great, good tool. What I did, because I'm very familiar with websites, and then Emily Davis, if she comes on, but Emily was like, we got to look at images. And so I was able to find a link that takes me to this place that I'm showing you. But Emily was like, it's under records. Oh, or images. So under images on family search, it takes you to this page. It'll quickly take you to a state, a group listing of information. No one told me how to look for these records, even on family search. No one told me what book to look in. I've showed you all my ancestors in Alabama. I had many names I was going to look in. So my heart and the spirit said to me, you need to go look at all the books, every one of the books. But I'm going to explain to you, for many of you are not familiar with Bullitt County. I should have had that as a slide. Bullitt County didn't exist until after emancipation. Greatly carved out of Pike, part of Macon, part of Montgomery, full of, over 70% was Pike. A portion was Macon. The southern part was Macon. A piece of the eastern side of Montgomery, a piece of Montgomery, part of Barber. Where was my family living? I don't know where these locations were in the census. So I'm going to miss something because I don't know what I'm looking for. Slaves could have taken a whole different name. I just said, girl, research it all. So that's exactly what I did. And in order for me to research it all, I needed to create a database. So some people don't realize this. I created this access database. And what my goal was to transcribe where I saw the word slave in these records, looking for connections, looking for my ancestors, not even realizing I was realizing, because I don't know who's transferred where. I don't understand. I didn't understand the records that I'm looking at the time. So my heart of hearts said, and because I've had this Facebook group for probably at least 15 years, or a long time. So in my Facebook group, we've been trying to figure this out. So I know I have a heart, I'm a willing worker. So I'm willing to be helpful and here for others, right? So I knew this isn't about me, but I knew I needed to put this information somewhere. So I developed this access database where I was going to be able to enter the information and pull out reports. So now the quest begins with wills and probates. This was what it looked like when I searched family search for the date periods of Macon, Pike, whatever county I'm looking for. Yes, the books look like this, digitized. Yes, it looks like this, hard to read, dark, but you can always lighten up the page by using the brightness or the contrast. We got to make all of this make sense, and then zoom in so that we can try to turn our head and figure out what they wrote in cursive. But this I knew was something that had to be done. And when I got done for Makaja Stinson researching the deeds and the wills and probate, this was the list of links that I needed to try to manage for all of the slaves associated just with him, and him gifting or buying slaves with other people. So I showed this one right here. This is Makaja's profile. What you're seeing here is his probate will, his probate information that I was carving out. Then there was deeds, and then there are slaves, and then there is his family. So there was so much. So while you guys were looking at DNA, this is what I was looking at during COVID. I was all about trying to find these records. And I was a beast. I was just looking and looking and looking. This is Jordan Allen Stinson and the slaves that Jordan received. I'm sorry, the slaves that were in his will in 1864 when he died in Pike. And so in column 3, slave name by the slaves, on the right hand side was who they went to. So I'm seeing patterns. It's all about the patterns. Jordan B slaves. These are still probate records. So Jason, John Lafayette, Robert Milton. So some of his sons, and actually one son, John Lafayette, he died in Texas. So he might have died in the Civil War. So maybe not necessarily he took his family there. But then this was the probate. Now I needed to go to the deeds. A deed, what I discovered, I wish I had started this 20 years ago. But there's so much information, you just can't do everything when you want. It takes time. But a deed is a written, signed, and delivered legal instrument that transfers the sale from one person to another. It's a receipt. Deeds are just receipts. And what's great about the deeds, I didn't have to die for the slaves to be recorded. When I bought a slave, when I sold a slave, when I gifted a slave, it was 8 times out of 10 recorded in a deed. Depending on the state you're researching, it may have been called something different. So each state handles information differently. Alabama tax records are terrible, but I've come to learn last year that Maryland tax records, they listed the slaves and the ages and the values. So every state does things differently. So that's something you had to learn. I was very versed with Alabama. Our state's records was terrible. So I knew taxes was not something that I could use. But now the deeds is looking like the probate. Jason Stinson. Okay, this is Jason buying, gifting, or selling slaves between someone else. Willie Jesse, Elias Stinson. So I'm tracking now all of the Stinson's movement of buying and selling slaves. And then, wait a minute, you saw I shared you earlier about the wives bringing in slaves, the wives gifting slaves from someone to someone. So now Mary Margaret Moore, whose father was Isham Moore, married a Stinson. She was from South Carolina, but her father gifted her 3 slaves. Then her sister, Sarah Jane Moore, married another one of the Stinson brothers, and she got gifted a slave. And this is what Makaja's deeds looked like. And what the colorations are showing you, I highlighted especially for my Stinson people on the call, because I especially was trying to let them know I got you. Everything in gold are those names that you guys have become familiar with. Martin, Julia, Zadok, Alexander, Alan, Amanda. They were gifted. They were gifted and sold to a Thomas Brown. He went and took them to Montgomery. Now we know, you all know, if you're familiar with Zadok or Zadie, how did he end up in Butler? Well, you better believe he was going to try to find his family. But his origination was back here with Martin. Alan, Mac, Betty, or Betsy, they were gifted to Elias and Jordan. So this is Makaja gifting his slaves. The green highlights, well, that's my family. Because now only when I looked at a deed did I see Anne incorporated within the Stinson's name. And now I have a Charles and a Nancy, Marianne, a Velvet, Bob, Alfred, Ann, and Jerry were gifted from David Foreman, who lived in Otaga, to Makaja Stinson. I'm like, what? Who is this David Foreman person? So that meant to me, does this mean I'm not really a Stinson? I'm a Foreman. So now I got to pivot. I got to jump from the Stinsons to go researching the Foremans. There's my little rabbit hole. So now I got to figure out not just the Stinsons. I had to create a tree for them, and I had to create a tree for the Foremans. I had to go researching all these other people. So in Ancestry, now that I have the tree and I have all of their children, and so now I'm starting to see the structure. This is the enslaved Stinsons. And this is what the enslaved Stinsons profile started looking like in Ancestry for me when I'm trying to track the movement of all the slaves and the family structure based on ownership, sale, purchase. So this is old man. We call him Old Man Martin. Me and Emily call him Old Man Martin. He's the oldest. If you are not aware, there's at least 5 Martins, 3 Charlies. Those names are repetitive. It drives you crazy trying to track them. But so Old Man Martin and his children, the strong culmination of his children and the possibilities of his children based on the records. Old Man Martin was from South Carolina. So that was very interesting to see. And Sarah, who changed her name from Hannah to Sarah, that's Emily's line. So Emily was going crazy trying to figure out, where's Sarah? I said, Emily, I thought I saw somewhere in the record that it was once Hannah and then maybe that it became Sarah. We weren't there, but we got to do our best to try to figure out using records and DNA. So this one, the two of them become hand in hand. We're trying to understand how to make this make sense. This is Charles Mack Sr., because he had a son, Charles Mack Jr., Friday, Jason, Andis. So this is the structure culmination of Old Man Martin and his children and his grandchildren. Okay. So now here's my new rabbit hole. Am I related to Old Man Martin and Emily clan and Joan clan? How can I track my relationships with them? And who is Charles Foreman? So it can absolutely be very overwhelming to be trying to track down all this information. So Serena Bogan is someone who is related to Friday. So many of the butlers knew her as Hannah. The records, I believe, Emily knew her as Sarah. Emily's related to Serena. I absolutely knew Emily was related to Serena, because she kept saying Bogan. I've never heard that name, Bogan. Serena Bogan, Serena Bogan. I'm like, okay, that's over my head, because I wasn't sure that I'm related to them yet. I don't see them as DNA matches, or I wasn't seeing them as DNA matches until I finally started paying attention to my cousin's DNA. And now this is Serena's tree, and this is a different person, a shared match to Serena, who has Friday and Hannah Todd and Charles in their tree. They went to Charles, and they have Lydia, who was a May. And so now I'm hearing the names, but I wasn't connecting any dots. But I knew Emily needed to connect those dots, because Emily shares DNA with me. This is where we have to have this collective team, right? We got to have those of us who are looking out for each other. So Emily shared her DNA with me. I'm sharing my DNA with her. So this is how we help each other. She's telling me all the names. She's going to the reunions now. I'm like, it ain't my reunion. I'm still trying to figure me out. That's what I said a while ago. But so next, I'm trying to figure out Anne's connection to you guys. Now I got to go look for David. I got to build this new tree. David Foreman, all his children, all his slaves, just like this is a process that has to be repeated. It is a pain, y'all. I get it. But this is me looking for the records, looking for information telling me who he was. And then in Ancestry, they pull a lot of Alabama related letters that have been sent to the Department of Archives. And so David Foreman was a physician. Well, H. Foreman was a physician. His parents was David and Nancy Betzel. They lived in Georgia and Autauga and Pike County, Alabama. Who is Betzel? And do I need to pay this Betzel name any attention? So that, now mind you, this is the line I'm tracking. I didn't think Emily had Betzel. I didn't see me with the Stinsons and Butler, but we doing what we got to do to research. And so this is just all of the records that I'm trying to read to understand his story. So grandfather Betzel came from Edgefield, South Carolina, and moved his family down to Pike in 1839. So now the timeline needs to start. Actually, they went from Georgia, I think, to Autauga, then from Autauga to Pike. So now there's movement with the enslaver. When he moves, his slaves move. Okay. David Foreman. This is a will. I'm sorry. This is a deed that I found for David Foreman. It says, I, David Foreman of the state of Alabama and county of Watauga, have this day bargained and sold unto Micajah Stinson of the state of Alabama, county of Pike, the following named slaves, to wit, Charles, 26, Nancy, 55, Marion, 25, Violet Velvet, about 12 years, Bible Boy, 8, Alfred, 7, Ann, 6, and Jerry, 2. Wait, now the family has shifted from Micajah to David Foreman. Oh, what really what was beautiful, I should have bolded it. Long story short, David Foreman, at the end of the day, he used his wife's slaves, and in a secret, a quiet possession, he sold the slaves to Micajah to purchase land in Pike. No one was supposed to know as long as he made his payments every year on the first of the month, 1st of January. If he forfeited on one of those payments, then Micajah could do what he had to do to get his money. But David Foreman used his wife's slaves that came from her mother. They were not his to sell, to bargain, but this is what they did. And so now I'm seeing my family shifting with the Foremans and the Betzels. Am I a Betzel? So what I did do, and I think this was Harriet Betzel, for in consideration of the natural love and affection I have for Nancy Betzel Foreman, the wife of David. Long story short, she's granting and bargaining and selling the following Negro slaves. So now the slaves have shifted from Stinson to Foreman to Betzel. Now I need to go build a whole tree for the Betzels, because apparently I'm not any of those names. I need to figure out who is Harriet Betzel. And now I need to build a tree for her. And now I need to go for records to figure out what's going on with her and her family, and the selling of her, gifting of the slaves to her daughter. And then I discovered Harriet had other slaves. And it took me forever until this year to figure out what her last name was, because Harriet married into the Betzel name. So the names I needed to look for, and you all as well, if you're related to Stensels, are Glenn, Bowling, Foreman, Bledsoe, which over time became Bedsell or Bedsoul. Because of the gifting and the deeding of these slaves within families, our families were separated. And if you do not track these families, you will lose sight on how you're related to your DNA matches. So this is David Foreman in 1830. He only had 2 slaves. And what my belief is that one of his slaves was Marion, a female, and 2 females, Marion. But David's father was Isaac Foreman. I discovered this last month, actually 2 months ago, and I'll tell you where. But Isaac Foreman gifted his son, David Foreman, Charles, Sally, Bob, Henry, and Peter. And so now I discover where Charles came from. Because until I found this out 3 months ago, I thought Charles was a Stinson, a son of Martin. Because again, we don't know the DNA relationship within the slaves until we pull it out of records. So my Charles actually, so now I know who Charles was, Ann's father, and Ann's grandmother. Yeah, because Charles and Ann's mother, actually, Sally. Because Charles and Sally, I had to go do a whole timeline. And then David's father died. He now has 7 slaves in 33. David purchased slaves from Aaron Moore, Violet, and Nancy. So this allowed me to understand Violet and Nancy is not related to me, because David got him from someone else. David bought Violet and Nancy from a Moor. But remember, they got sold to the Stinsons. But then David then took the slaves and sold them to Makaja, and eventually Harriet did correct the records and gifted the slaves to her daughter, and the daughter gifted the slaves to her husband. This is what the names in every record I've touched pertaining to me tracking the Stinsons, all of the Stinsons: Cockcroft, Cobb, Mason, McNeil, Presley, Moore, Brown, Bowling, because of where the slaves went. And this is how you triangulate the matches that you're looking for if they're possibly related. But if you haven't seen or done the work to look at the records, you have major roadblocks. So now what? How can I trace and track families of the enslaved to find all of my ancestors? Where do I put all of this information in my database? And where do I go from here? 2 months ago, I finally solved and resolved that I'm putting this data that I have transcribed in WikiTree. If you do not have a wikitree.com profile, get one, because I'm going to show you in the next few minutes why. WikiTree is a platform like many, but the great thing, WikiTree is basically gives us the ability to create profiles, to add our data there, our family pedigree charts, and all of that stuff. But of course, the question is, can I trust it? I've spent so much time putting my information in Ancestry with the frustrations that I have because I'm tracking enslavement. I don't now just want to build immediate cousins. I need to figure out, where am I going to put my enslavement information? So WikiTree here it really is an awesome platform for documenting and collaborating on African American ancestry through the U.S. Black Heritage Project, which focus aims to build and document African American genealogies with the goal of creating the largest online public database of African American families. I'm going to show you many of the different groupings that they have on WikiTree: the Slave Era Research Project, 1880 Census Project, Slave Narrative Projects. Okay, so let's go. I pretty much just told you what WikiTree is. It's more about the visuals than it is about the text. So I'm going to show you how I'm using it. And it is my prayer you will use it. So your profile. So once you get familiar with websites and you know where to go, you can make things look cute. You can make things be pretty. It's not about the pretty. It really isn't. But now that I am a WikiTreeer, I transcribe now every day. The data from my database is going into WikiTree without a shadow of a doubt. And the records that have nothing to do with me, but that may be your breakthrough, you will see later, are going to go in WikiTree that I've transcribed. So this is my platform, my profile. You can easily look up other people's profiles. You talk about who you are. Many people don't. You're sharing information about you. So this is my family page. This is my pedigree chart, my ancestors page. Featured. The featured section shows you, based on what you've added in your ancestral profile, how you may match up with others. So click on featured, and I'm like, okay, what are you showing me? My ancestors, my cousins. They're showing me 19 degrees difference, 35 degrees difference. Well, Denzel Washington and I are 39 degrees different. He my cousin. Now, if I call him, he ain't gonna be like, whatever. But you know what I mean? At some point, the goal is we use and leverage the information to help us understand how to figure out our connections to what we're looking for. But it was kind of cute. I used to say I didn't track famous people, but I do now, because we're going to be connecting through the European connection, hands down. And it's that European connection we need to figure out where the enslavement comes in. You have DNA matches that have no African. You have DNA matches with a drop. And you need to discern the difference between that drop and the ones that don't. But if you don't include your European matches in your tree where they fall, you can't figure out how to figure out where the others are. And it's that other that drop, which means someone up that tree has sex with the slave, and that slave person is your ancestor. So that's why it becomes important to connect famous peoples to your tree. With WikiTree, I don't have to go looking for it. I don't have to add it. So it's so cool to be able to see it. They use technology. I can type in a person's ID. This is my ID. I can type in someone else's ID, and I can find the connection to that person. Find relationships, same thing. Are we related? Not just through a connection. So I did me and Denzel. So this is how Denzel and I are related through my Prater Prather names out of Bullitt County, Alabama. And I figured this out without DNA. So without DNA, I was able to figure out my ancestor, who was a mulatto child. And the enslavers' brothers, none of them had mulatto children. So I said, well, it is what it is. This must be his daughter. And eventually I added him to the tree. I went and researched him. I set him and I forgot him. But then I got in GEDmatch and I was able to find GEDmatch connections to him that solidified this relationship. So that's how you use the different platforms to be able to help you connect. But this, so I am Margaret Gressley Blount. She's my 19th great grandmother, and she's Denzel's 16th. Okay, but this shows you the path to your connection. My personal connections, basically, it's just your connections you've added. You can see if you have US presidents, Mayflowers, no more different than Family Search. Family Search, Family Finder does that as well. And this is showing me my connections of people who've added their profile to WikiTree. When you add your profile to WikiTree and we start congregating this data, I need to start seeing your faces. Because now at least I can see how I'm relating to you using WikiTree. And WikiTree won't have those cutoff points of DNA so that we got to guess and figure out how we possibly are matching or not. 1870 census. So WikiTree has things called categories. And the 1870 census is a category I purposely asked for because in Bullitt County, like I said, my focus is Bullitt County. So I said to them, I need an 1870 Bullitt County group category so that when I'm adding profiles or you're going to add your ancestor, what I want to be able to see is I've tracked my ancestor to 1870. Because if we can get that far, now we have a place where we can build off of, right? But since I can't see your tree, I can't tell. So I put these categories on all the profiles of the people I know were a part of the 1870 census. And we add sources. So WikiTree is a place where you add sources. This is what the 1870 Bullitt County, Alabama looks like. They have Butler, Montgomery, other states, other counties. This is not solely to Alabama. So regardless of where your research is, WikiTree already has transcribers out here building profiles of the enslaved that you did not have to create. And what my prayer is at the end of this session, I need my people to get in here because they're doing this record for us. They're transcribing this information for us. And if we don't, and this is an easy way for us to connect to it. This is Albert Harper. That's another name that I'm related to in Bullitt County, Alabama. Okay. So these are just profiles that have been tagged or categorized with 1870. Now they also have an 1880 census project. They're doing that across the nation. And what the 1880 census project looks like for Alabama, you go here to this page that lists all of the counties in the states that you're looking for. So in Alabama, there's Barber, there's Bullock, Choctaw. I didn't highlight that. Butler is right underneath it. Butler already has a spreadsheet of everybody that can connect to the 1870 census, 1880 census, I'm sorry. And what they've done is they've added, and these are all of the other counties. So if your county is on here, I'm looking for Marengo. I think Marengo was done. That's somebody else in the group. So if your county is on here, and the goal is if you can connect your profile to, mind you, WikiTree is free. Let me make sure I highlight that. WikiTree is free. So if you can connect to the 1880 census, all they're asking is that you go and you add your profile to the spreadsheet. And this is what that spreadsheet looks like. It's based on surnames. So 1880 A to B in Bullitt County looks like this. And I filtered it. So every name I'm tracking for Bird, which is my connection, one of my connections is Bird. I filtered it and I'm putting my name next to every name that I know I'm tracking. Now I know I have to ask them, what do you do if you have more than one person? I think you can probably just put a comma and add yours too. Now we're able to see the people who can connect to this ancestor on the 1880 spreadsheet. C's, I connect to the word copes, cope. So I've added mine, other people have added theirs. L through M, I'm a Lloyd. So I've added Anne. Anne has a profile on Wiki. Her brother, her grandson, Noah has a profile in Wiki. I have to create the other profiles when I stop doing presentations. R through S, Rhodes, this is Stinson. So what happens is this is a good way for us to be able to figure out how we possibly can be related to one another. So Joan, I need to get your 1880 group over there, hot on fire with Butler County. And the last spreadsheet shows the percentage complete. Y'all, it's my goal. I need Bullitt County, Butler County, Macon County, Pike County. I need to start seeing these increase because this is about us. This body of work is being done for us. Others that benefit, but it really is about the enslavement period. Researching using categories. Slave owner. So now there's a category in Alabama that we can add to a profile that says, oh, you're a slave owner. And so as we create profiles for the slave owners, we get to add them to these different categories. Alabama is coordinated by all of the different counties, of course. And once you start looking at the actual profiles, this starts showing you if the category was Alabama slave owner, these are the profiles that are there. Their goal is that we go to county level. So Macon County category has the slaves of the enslaver, then the enslaved owners. And so the goal is if I care about Baldwin, I'm going to come here and I'm going to click on the Baldwins because I want to see what information is in there about slaves that the Baldwins owned. So if I have DNA matches in my tree that have the name Baldwin, I need to look at the traversement of the information from the records to see, can I connect these dots? But if someone did not research those records, you would not see these names. And so these are some more of the names that are in Macon County. Macon County slaves. So this is a page for the enslaver in, so there's two things we put in Wiki. A profile, basically if the enslaver had a profile, they don't want to see all the slave information on there. So we create a separate page called a space page, and I lay it out. Every slave, every census, I'm triangulating it. I promise you, when you start going to the links I'm going to share with you later, and you start looking at these pages I'm going to share with you, I'm trying to tell the story chronologically using the data from the records timeline to help us to figure this out. And it can be complex, but others out there, they're doing it for us. I'm going to do it for you. And I need us to do it for us. So there's another page that they call space pages, but this is what the two different pages look like. There's a profile for the slaveholder and a space page where we put all of the slave information. Now, Mary Sarah Rebecca Fitzpatrick, who married a Harper. I shared earlier, I'm a Harper. And and I know how I'm a Harper but I don't know if I'm related through her husband's line. So, but Mary Sarah, I was able to create a Fitzpatrick profile because there's Audrey and the group in here that are in Macon that possibly could be related through the Macon line and the Fitzpatrick line. So, Robert Jones and Mary Harwell. Annette is definitely a Fitzpatrick and a Harper. Her and I talk a lot. But this is what the timelines, I'm telling you, what I'm doing looks like. So I put the date and what the record is, and the sources are at the bottom. So if you want to know, did I write the right thing? Is there proof? If you're trying to submit information to someone to say this is legitimate proof that says this is this, in WikiTree, we have to have sources. This is true research. And for all of that information I researched out of the probates and the deeds, I'm giving you every source that I found. And I've taken my time to coordinate it to build a story. Because the timeline tells the story. I've asked a couple of people, what's your backstory? What's your enslaved ancestor backstory? If you can't tell me that, that tells me you didn't pay attention to the records that you're supposed to be researching. Or you don't even know. You got to know your story. So the slaves page, a person who was enslaved, why am I still showing Mary Sarah? A person that was enslaved, now what their page would look like. So this is Mary Sarah and all of the slaves. And the green hyperlink that you see there, that name green, means he has a profile. Green is my ancestor. So I'm trying to make sure if you go on a page, you can click it and it'll take you where you need to go. Because the hardest thing is trying to figure out how to get where you want to go. So I want to make sure that any associated name is on the page so that we can quickly get there to that information. Excuse me. I think I did a whole lot of. So on the profile page, I'm taking the time to show you high level. So if you were a Fitzpatrick, you could see Joseph and all of his children and his grandchildren and who they married, because again, you got to know information about the wives and you got to know who all the players are, because I definitely have Georgia matches in Fitzpatrick. I have Fitzpatrick matches in Georgia. And if I'm not paying attention to the enslaver, I'm completely going to miss it. Stinson's research. Martin's old man Martin page looks like this. His page is no joke, because what I discovered when researching old man Martin, when he died, in his profile it says he was fluent in speaking with the Native Americans. Wait a minute. What does fluency mean? Was he a descendant? Because if you were fluent, you were living and breathing at the time the Native Americans were here in Alabama. You walked, you breathed, you were right there amongst them. So that's something that we have to pay attention to when we're trying to figure out Martin's connection. Martin and all his wives, his first set of wives, his second set of wives, and his primary wife is unknown at this time. But I'm showing on his profile page all the enslavers with all the slaves that they have. And when you go to the page, and I'll share you the link, how I've triangulated using the census, the deeds, and the probates, and the 1870 census to triangulate all that data to help us to be able to figure out who is who on the census records and how far back can we go with their name. WikiTree has a project called the Enslaved. Oh, this is my enslaved person. So my Aunt Stinson. And this is me trying to write a story about, so if someone is related to Charles or the Foremans and they come here, they're going to be able to read and understand, oh, Ann's father was Charles, but Charles was a slave of the Foremans. But then he got sold to the Betzels. Then he got sold to the Stinsons. So this is a way that I couldn't do in Ancestry. I could not do this in Ancestry. That's how come I've jumped ship from Ancestry and I'm moving everything that I have to Wiki so that we can make sense of this information. State level Alabama slaves. So there are slaves in all of the states level. So the slave owners have a group. The slaves have a group. I shared with you there's an 1880 and an 1870 census category group. And this is what this grouping looks like for Alabama slaves. I shared that part already. And these are all of the counties of the slaveholders. Okay. Name studies. Did you know WikiTree has a category called just a name? And the goal of that is, let's say, for instance, I need to figure out where's all these foremans that could be connected. And maybe I need to study the foreman. So the goal of their name studies project is that you would have a name and you would be able to look for the name that you desire. And the Stinson name study, you better believe I tagged every single last one of those profiles with this image that's right here at the top. This profile is a part of the Stinson name study. So now, if we're trying to track and study any Stinson, and they have this tag or category in their profile, it's a way to triangulate our connections. And at the bottom under the red, that's what the category looks like on a person's profile. And Makaja has a name study, and you better bet all the slaves got name studies because we are all a part of the same name. And anyone that's a part of the Black Heritage Project gets the symbol right above the name study. So that basically says that this person is African American or African American descent and origin and is a part of this project. The reason I came to Wiki is because 2 years ago, you saw I had a database, I had a website. I was trying to give you guys a way to see all this data that I've created, but it was too much. It's too much data. And so I contacted Wiki a few years ago, and I was afraid that if I put my information here, someone would delete it. I absolutely was paranoid. And then this year, I came back to my Alabama research, and I decided to start searching again for Anne. I was looking for Charles and all of his information, and a gentleman, I'm going to forever give him props, named James Gibbons. James Gibbons transcribed all of the probate records in Atauga. And that was how I was able to find my connection to Charles's enslaver, David's father. I never thought I needed to research Atauga. Do you guys see my slide or me?
No, Deborah, we don't see it.
You don't see the slide?
No.
I knew that. Okay, thank you. I knew I needed to stop. I'm doing way too much. Oh, I turned the share off. I'm definitely doing way too much. Thank you. Okay, you see it now. I'm trying to pull up a chat because I want to be able to pass you guys some links. So that's why I messed everything up. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Let me pull up chat real fast so I can start throwing you some WikiTree links so that you can look at them. Okay. The 5 civilized tribes. So this month I decided to start doing research in Macon County and discovered Macon, Bullock, Pike, Barber, Butler, nothing but Native American ancestors, connections to Creeks. And the depth of learning all of that information was overwhelming. And I needed to pivot and go over here to the Native American understanding because my grandmother walked with her grandfather who was part Cherokee. But then her mother was part Creek. And that was a Rhodes line. And I'm like, wait a minute, how do I figure this out? So there are many African Americans who stayed behind, or Native Americans that were blended origin or not, that stayed behind, did not go to Oklahoma with the Trail of Tears or stop off at any other state. They remained in Alabama. And trying to figure out how we connect to them was like, how? And once I started researching Native American, I needed to figure out where to go. So I said, let me see what Wiki got. And WikiTree got it, y'all. So I joined the Native American 5 Civilized Tribe Project in Wiki. and that's tracking anything or anyone of Native American origin. And so now, as I'm finding records and I'm reading records and I'm creating profiles from the information out the deeds and the wills that I'm looking at, I needed to make it available, because if you would have watched the other slides I did, the other presentations, we know Native Americans had slaves. Some of those slaves were not African. Some of those slaves were their own people. Let us make sure we're clear. But do we connect to them and do we descend? So anytime on a page you see is purple, that means you've touched it. Anything in purple, I've touched. I've been blowing up this Muskogee Creek, and I've created many of these profiles from what I'm researching. So if you have DNA matches to McGilvery, Hawkins, McIntosh, McQueen, Cornells, any of these names in Alabama, then you most likely, this is a place where we can possibly try to figure out our Native American origin. When it's been difficult, my last week's presentation, I talked about using GEDmatch added to that. So these website platforms, GEDmatch is free, WikiTree is free, totally free. All you got to do is add your data. Now, another project they have over here on WikiTree is the slave narratives. So we've heard about the project that was done by the government to interview all of the slaves, any people who were former slaves, to get their stories. WikiTree done put them up here on WikiTree. So you can look at, it'll take you to the profiles. And I think at some point they want people to possibly try to create profiles for each of them. I'm reading them because these are all of the people in Alabama out those narratives. You see every state on the left, but this is every Alabama person. And there was one purple one, Reuben Fitzpatrick, 1854, died 1942 in Bullitt County, Alabama. And I purposely need to go back and look at his profile. But I've been trying to put all these together. So it's a lot of information. What's amazing is to see it's already on Wiki. You don't have to go try to find it. Free people of color. They got a space for free people of color, y'all, for Alabama. I was like, what? Ohio. So many things, so much data of them transcribing information to try to make it available for us. They even have a category called Alabama plantations. These, now in WikiTree, a plantation did not have to be called a plantation. A plantation had to have a slaveholder who had at least 40 slaves or more. And it would just be called the James Jones plantation. If it wasn't called a formerly, identified plantation name, they just name it after the slaveholder himself. But it documents slaveholders with 40 or more slaves. I'm working with them for that. I can get me a Pike County, Alabama, because I've already identified 3. I know I probably can find at least 10 out of my database. Personal research exercise. Here we go, y'all. Now, I'm going to need y'all to go to WikiTree. So I'm going to put this link in the chat. So I want you to see what Old Man Martin's profile looks like in WikiTree. Okay. Raise your hand if you want to come off mute. This is a time when you can talk, because this is my interactive time. I've been torturing people, doing a whole lot of talking, but I needed to get through this, right? So raise your hand. Don't just talk. If you would like to say something, provide feedback. But basically, this is Old Man Martin page that I constructed. That the goal of it is to let you see the story. How did he get way up there? Okay, Rodney, you have a question.
Yes, when I go and start my profile on WikiTree, is there a way for me to upload my tree from Ancestry to WikiTree, or do I have to do it all manually?
I am so upset with myself because normally I'd be on point, but you caught me with my slip hanging. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I'll show you.
Please don't say that because you just gave me an image and I might have a nightmare later on.
Remember, this is being recorded and that will be cut out. Thank you. Okay. In WikiTree, let me find it. JetComs. So I don't know what it looks like if you have not signed up. But after you sign up at a minimum, you go under WikiTree JetComs. And right here is where you can upload your JetCom, just like we did to JetMatch. You
Okay.
download it from Ancestry, MyHeritage, and this way, now I'm gonna tell you right now, don't go uploading the JetCom if you got a lot of garbage research stuff in your tree. I'm telling you right now.
Deborah.
But 1 second, Divide. I'm gonna come right to you. I just want to show what I did do when I first started because I wasn't familiar or versed with WikiTree. I just added my core relatives: name, birthday, death, location. I just structured it so I could get in my core relatives. My prayer is you get in your core relatives if you do nothing else. I want to see your ID and I need you to post your ID in the chat or message me your ID because with that, I can now better look into you and show you how using WikiTree you will be able to look through categories and we can figure out if someone's already researched your information. Yes, Dwan.
Well, Deborah, I'm on WikiTree right now.
Wonderful. You have a you
And
have a profile?
yes,
Okay, and so with your profile, all you have to do is give us the last initials. It's usually your last name and a number. You don't necessarily have to show the whole, it's just like a GEDmatch ID, right? You have to show the whole link. But if you have a GEDmatch ID, please put it in the chat. And if you need to add your parentage line, please do that. And then, post in my Facebook group. I got my stuff in WikiTree because this is going to be that breakthrough, especially for that Alabama research. And then eventually, I do incorporate Georgia because I do have ancestors out of Milledgeville, out of all these other locations where you guys have ancestors as well.
well, Deborah, it seemed a little hard at first.
It seemed hard, and that's how come I'm here to let you know it's not. So if you have a JetCom, you can download it from Ancestry to make it simple and then upload it. Okay. So I'm gonna go to I want to go to Martin's tree. So anyone have questions about Martin's profile? So I know it's a lot to digest, so I'm gonna take you on the journey. So right here we go. This is all of Martin's children and grandchildren and the profiles I've already created. So Charles Mack, Zadok, I know that Joni is very familiar with those names. There was another Charles Mack down here. Martin had a son named Charles Mack that he named after his brother, Charles Mack, that he had a son named Charles Mack. So I'm trying to show you from the Stinson connection how we are possibly related. And as you go further down, I'm telling the story based on the date and the number on the right hand side, because you're able to do, if you click the number, it's going to take you to where that source is. If you right click on that source and you open that in a new tree, in a new window, that's going to show you where that record is coming from. So the hard, daunting work of trying to figure out the story, what I'm saying to you is from all of everyone that's in my database, at least right now for the Stinsons, I have done everything that I have in my database about the Stinsons that I figured out about the Stinsons is here in WikiTree. From here, when you add your profiles, so Bina, there was conversations about Bina. We know that Bina, Charles, and Friday and all this line, they went to Butler. So if I go to Charles Mack's page, that's going to take me over here to his profile. where I'm clearly going to tell you Bina, which later changed her name to Lydia. Sorry if you can't see, I'll do a little bit more enlarging. Bina name got changed to Lydia. Now, if I find more records or you share with me a different record where maybe Charles had two wives, I know for a fact he had a wife named Bina. Is Lydia a different wife? But what we do know, when we triangulate our DNA matches, over here on the right, we get to see it shows us how we are related to one another. Emily's profile is in here connecting up to Martin. So this is now showing me she's on 23andMe and she's 0.6 degrees to Martin. And I got this 0.0, 0.7. This is why I don't see you guys, many of you, in Ancestry. I'm so far back, it's banana bonkers. But what I do like up here, I've turned on, this is a feature I did turn on, is telling me how I am related. So Charles Mack is my fourth great uncle. And then if I go into Friday's profile, I'm giving you all of the records that I found. I even added the census records, any death records that I can find. I do not add all of the children. Y'all got to do something. But he is the father of Charles Mack. And then now we can drill into the profiles. And this is where Serena exists. Charles Mack was the father of Inez Stinson Bogan. And then Serena would add and connect to here, and she would now be able to drill upward. So this is me showing you that, I promise you, WikiTree is the answer. Okay. Did I answer all questions? I just see Devon's name. Okay. So now you got to see Martin and the project narratives. I think I'm clicking to the higher slides, and yeah, I'm clicking the higher slides. I've gone way past that. Hold on. Sorry about that. Talked about plantations. There's Martin. Okay, here we go. Here's Charles and Bina, who I've just talked about. I've given them those tags. I've added them to the categories. And so all of this is, and now when you look at this, the section in green on my page, if you sign up, it's going to be at the bottom of the page. There's different things you got to add, just like a mobile app, just like an app from the mobile store. I added features that developers has created. All of this is free because I need to see the categories at the top. I don't want to go scrolling toward the bottom. And now I can see Charles and Bina are the projects that they're in. And now when you read it, you're going to see, oh, he's associated with Pike. And then he's in the 1870 census for Kanika. And so all of these are things that will help you to be able to understand the origin of your ancestor. So the power of WikiTree. So this was my brother and his connection to, oh, I hit her. Oh, because she's European. This is my brother. She's European. And I was searching because I wanted to see how I was related to this particular person. WikiTree gives me the ability to see multiple relationships. That's what many of these other services, especially Ancestry, does not do. When we are related because a European person, child or descendant has sex with a slave, but then there's a cross into another one of our lines, we need to be able to see that. So WikiTree told me, oh, you're related to this person twice. When I looked at her tree, I had already had her in my tree for Sewell. But then I had to go down here because I was creating a profile. And now I see I'm also related to her through this surname Barefoot, Barfoot, or Baker. And so WikiTree gives us the ability to be able to see these multiple relationships that many of the other services do not. The Sewell goes all the way to Anne Arundel, Maryland, stops in Georgia for this person here. So that means I know. So when I see European connections, I love it. Set it and forget it. I'm going to add another line. I ain't got to look for another person because I know I need to find the enslaved person, but I don't have to go look for that father, or I don't have to look for that mother because there were many European women who chose to have families with the enslaved and indentured people as well who were African. So our origin is vast, and we have to stop looking in a box. For this person I'm showing you, I was confused because I said, I see you in ancestry, which means there's enough centimorgans for ancestry to show me your relationship to me. But the matches in the tree go way, way, way far back. And that's where we have to understand DNA. DNA is distributed randomly, but an 11th centimorgan cousin, fourth cousin, or half third cousin could be as far back as an eighth cousin, or as close as a second cousin one time removed. And since this is saying she's my fourth cousin, basically that means she's somewhere in this range right here, or this range. But I know now where I need to look. I need to look anywhere where fourth cousins live. Somewhere in the yellow and somewhere in the purple is my connections to her, because ancestry says fourth. But it can be as far back as a fifth cousin and far back. So this is just to help us to understand, when you don't see someone in ancestry, it doesn't mean they're not related. We have to start thinking broadly about our research. It's a great place to start because so many millions of data, millions of profiles are in ancestry, but don't let it in there. From my database, these are the names I have added in completeness to WikiTree. I am working on this Jones. As you know, Jones can be a name of a lot of people, and they were out of Pike. Where it says name study means there is a name study for that name. And these are anywhere across the country, anywhere, not even country. So it's not just to Pike County, Alabama, because I would want to look at all of the names associated with that name. But these are the names that I am working on, but I have thousands. But these are clusters of families. Clusters of families. Everyone, children, son, grandchildren that had a slave that I've taken from the records in Pike, I'm putting in WikiTree. How can you help? This is my call to action. Oh, I forgot. I should have put this earlier. I made WikiTree Member of the Week. For the last 2 months, I've been banging on it hard. But I did make Member of the Week, and they ask you a lot of questions. And at the end of the day, my research, 1000% every day, all day, is nothing but enslavement. I am still looking for my ancestors, but I'm also looking for your ancestors as well. So it was so cool to be able to make Member of the Week. How can you help? Upload your GEDCOM to Wiki or manually add your ancestors. And then I will happy to do a session, work with you to get your profiles you've created on the spreadsheet. If you just send them to me, I'll add them. I'll be willing to do that. Help me identify your 1880s so that we can link them to the spreadsheet. Add your DNA profiles so that we can see your GEDmatch IDs and that kind of stuff. If you really want to help, work with me to identify the slaves. Be willing to volunteer. And you have to be willing to read cursive, because if you are not willing to read cursive, this is not for you, baby. If you do these things, you will get breakthroughs in your ancestral research journey. I'm not looking for you to make a profile like I did. I am looking for people to possibly help me find the word slave on a page. Now, you cannot be working on a mobile phone or a tablet. Sorry. You can go to GEDmatch, look at pages of stuff, but enslavement is not a place where you can have a phone. It's just not. And I know sometimes it can be challenging, but I can't be frustrated because you're on a smaller device and I don't realize that. So I'm making it clear, because it's hard to help someone when you're looking at something one way and I'm trying to get you to look at it a different way. I need you to right click. You cannot right click on a phone. You cannot. You cannot right click on a tablet. All of these are things that we're able to do on a desktop. If you're in GEDmatch, perfect. What's your email address or your kit ID? And for me, you want help, you got to be in WikiTree. I have to start putting the stops into people that are serious or people that are playing. And WikiTree is too free for us to find our matches. Questions and answers. And I thank you for hanging in here with me. I went through 187 slides in an hour and 15 minutes. All right, Tracy. Yes, ma'am.
I just signed on to WikiTree, and now I'm just waiting for the password for my email confirmation.
Woo-hoo.
And I went back in to see how we're definitely related, and it is through Lucretia.
Oh, you a Wiggle girl?
Yes. So it is through Lucretia Wanamaker.
Oh, you're a Wanamaker. That's why.
Well, I'm a Wanamaker, I'm a Earl, I'm a Blakely, I'm a
Yes,
Laurie.
yes. You're Orangeburg, South Carolina corner.
Yes,
Deborah.
Weston.
She's talking
So,
fine.
so Lucretia's husband, Joshua Earl's sister, married my second grandfather, Samuel Chestnut.
So we got to figure
But
out if you're actually related to Lucretia. That picture, what's weird, that's not her husband. It says something about that's a nephew, still relation,
oh,
still relation. So we
okay.
got to figure it out. We got to figure it out. But
Yes. Well,
there definitely are ways.
yes, I am related to her because I have a cousin from related that keeps telling me we're Wanamaker, but I have not done that Wanamaker background research directly from Lucretia.
Yes.
But you know, where the Earl, their daughter Lucretia Earl married Theodore Canty, who's my relative, and then their daughter Mavelle Canty married my Canty Weston relative. So it's so now I just have to find the direct Wanamaker
Okay, I
connection.
got you, girl. My tree is crazy looking with Wanamakers. I love it. Let me give you real quick the Wanamaker story. So the Wanamakers, oh God, how did it went? A Wanamaker married a Ziegler, a Rump. A Rump married a Wanamaker. Took her to Georgia. He died. So Mr. Wanamaker died. She married Rogers. Took her to Pike. So when she took her to Pike, eventually he died before slavery emancipation ended. Her daughter married a farrier. Her daughter married a cook. I'm related to all these names out of Alabama. And because I traversed the records, I was able to see what happened with that whole line that went from Orangeburg, South Carolina to Pike County, Alabama.
Ah.
Yeah, girl, yeah, girl. And all of this is information that I'm going to be blowing up WikiTree with all the profiles and all the slaves and everything that I could find so that we can find those connections. So at a minimum, guys, if you just put your profiles and your ancestors in here, we're going to be able to make this happen. Yes, Mr. Rodney.
Yes.
You're on mute. Yes, I muted you. Somebody was typing.
Okay.
You're Devon.
Okay. Here's the deal. Just between us, as you know, I have to wait until I get down to the library
Yes.
to get on WikiTree because you know how I normally do and what I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So if you should hear from me outside of this video, then you would know why. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, got it. Devon, your hand's still up?
Oh, yes, it is, Deborah. I'm finding out a lot of information on WikiTree. I just added my jet match and my ancestry.
I told Devon, I said, come to my session tonight because I got the platform for you that is free. And I'm telling you guys, so much information has already been added. It's astounding. Of just being able to try to see what people have already volunteered on our behalf. Please make sure you put your information in Wiki so that we can try, and then make sure you add your ancestors, and you do that. I tell you, we're gonna make it happen. Miss Whoop, I got you, girl. y'all got to keep in touch with me so I can make sure we build these connections, because I know how I connect to the swoops through the roads. So what I am going to do, and Emily, I got you. What I am going to do is I'm going to schedule a session, if it's even if it's census, and being able to say we're gonna. So a matter of fact, I'm gonna show you guys real quick what I want to do, because I'm gonna do a particular session on WikiTree. So as I bring it up, I don't want that page. As I bring it up, I'm gonna show you how I want to be able to figure these names out. So yes, Emily.
Oh, I just wanted to say, while we're talking about the indigenous people, I posted in the chat the email I gotten from WikiTree on indigenous ancestors. 35 degrees from the late Graham Greene and connected to 11 more. And they give you the names of those people.
You did?
Do you see it in the chat?
No, I gotta look at. You did. That is dope, because I haven't seen anything Native
Yeah,
American.
in the chat, it tells you what you have, and then it gives you the names of the people, the 11 people. So I have those names too.
Phenomenal. And a great deal of that is, again, when you add your ancestors, and then when we start adding the European, you're going to start seeing so many different connections. So that is amazing. I'll show you how to add the app that you can see, like I'm seeing, and we can get stuff added to the top of the page and that kind of thing. You don't got to be cutesy after that, because it's the functional things we need. But I'm willing to create these profiles, because building the story is amazing, and we got to do it by the surname clusters, not a one name off. Because of the separation of the slaves, it's important to do it by the name clusters. Dr. Shelley in the A, is this Dr. Shelley Murphy? No, it's Dr. Shelley Stewart.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry I entered your Zoom conversation a little late. I thought it was Central Time, 6 o'clock. So
That's fine.
I'm trying to catch up here. I received an email from you yesterday about a relative of mine named Sally Presley. And I think she was born somewhere in the 20 or 30s, and that's kind of where I was stuck. So I did hear the conversation about the WikiTree, and I found some information about her on WikiTree. But I did learn that around 1850, she was a slave of, I think it's Elias or somebody like that, Presley, and they're from Butler, Alabama.
Yes.
And then I was able to follow them all the way, trace the family lineage all the way through now. And so all the way, they're on the 1870 census, and she had some kids with her. I'm not sure if they're hers or not, but I was just trying to figure out how I can find out more about Sally Presley.
Is Joni still here? She is. I see her face. Okay, so I'm finna go up to Sally. So what you found on Wiki is because I put it there.
Okay.
Yeah, she didn't have a profile before that. So Joni is a Presley. She's descending of a Presley. And Joni, what happened was she had Sally in her tree. So I reached out to her on Ancestry. And I threw I'm telling you, I threw everybody a link. Please come to this meeting. I'm doing this session. Let's figure this out, guys. So I created this profile for Sally Stinson Presley. So Joni, I'm glad she brought this up, because I never did say where that record was. So under Sally, what basically happened was Makaja Stinson when he in his will was so weird, because what his will said is he died in 1848. But what happened was in 1818, they had not formulated the laws at that time. So he could gift a child a slave, he could gift a child a slave, he could buy a slave, and there was no recording of it until later in time. So maybe somewhere around the 30s, when you had to have a legal deed. I heard someone mention that when women had slaves, there was a separation of property. So many people wrote a will, said, for support of my daughter, and this is not to be her husband's, this is her property. So a formulation of the law started shifting. So when Makaja died, he had never said, I gifted people slaves. I gifted my family members slaves. So this particular record So I'm gonna go back to Polly because I want you to see it on Makaja's page. So what's great about Wiki is you're going to see me clicking on links all over the place because why the link is there. And I just need to get to the person I need to get to, whether it's at the top, whether it's at the bottom. But again, anything that's slaves, they really would, if it's under 10 slaves or less, you can put on the profile of the enslaver. But if it's more than slaves, they want a separate page that you can go to, and that's where all that information is. So on Makaja's page, what I started doing right here, it says, right here, he had to make a legal indication in his will that he had given his children slaves, but he didn't give a name.
Oh.
So what happened, he gave Simon Lewis a slave, a boy who was 8. He gave his son Jordan a slave who was 8. He gave his wife a slave in 1829. But his daughter, where's she at? Where, Mary Polly, where are you? Maybe it's below here. Mary, right here. So right here in 1818, he gave his daughter Mary Polly a slave. So I knew for a fact he gave his daughter a slave girl who was 6 years old in 1818 that put her birth at about 1812. I knew Mary Polly had married Elias Presley.
Oh, right. Okay.
And because that slave in 1812, it was like, I think it was, they got married, and then the father gifted her a slave when she got married. And the records tell that timeline and tell that story. So I knew there was a girl. And of course, the question is, did she live to freedom? Did she live to 1870? So when I went and looked at the 1870 census, so here is her profile here. So I created a profile. So now we can just have hyperlinks to take us where we want to go. And it's not possible really to do this easily in Ancestry. So now this is her profile. And now on 1870, it says, this was me telling the story. But now in 1870, there is Sally who's 70 and all of these people. What I said to Joni, what has to happen, you guys have to backtrack and look at 1870 and all of the Presleys, and then look at all of the Stinsons that were living in the area. Look at the census for them. Look at the Presleys in the area. Look at the deeds in the area. But what's so cool is if I go up here to Butler County slaves, okay, I need it under Mary Polly. I need Mary Polly because I want to look at the slaveholders. I want to see what profiles did they put in Butler County slave owners category. And so right now, so because I've added those tags, these are all the people that have already been transcribed in Butler. So there aren't any Presleys. So some of that body of work that I've done is not here yet. There is a Martin. He was born in 1802. And he married, remember, Joni, I told you, a Stinson, wait a minute. I thought a Stinson married a Presley. Right there. Mary Stinson married a Presley. And what's so cool, oh, there it is, Mary Polly. Mary Polly married Stinson. And Elias Stinson, who did he marry? He married a Moor. Because Joni says she's related to Moors. That was the Moors I was telling you about. That Elias married a Moor. He had another brother that married a Moor. They stayed in Pike. But these were sisters. Now, mind you, Isham, this guy right here, he's the one that gifted the slaves to his daughters. Were these people siblings? Were they related to one another, the slaves that he gave to his children? So is this Isham? Yes, this is Isham's page. Hannah Patience. So in 1827, he gave Hannah Patience married. And this is me traversing all of them. That has to do with Isham. Let me see. Slaves in 43. There is Bina. Here is a Sophie who's 21. Bina was 23. Could Bina and Sophie be sisters because of the age? And Creasy. then the question is, who's their mama? So what I would end up doing is looking at issues and looking at all of the Moors. So what I really love about Wiki is now, okay, let me go to the issues page and look at all his siblings. And do they got profiles? So right here, he's the father of, husband of, son of. I haven't found Isham's father yet, or didn't add it yet. But so this is how I use Wiki to try to figure out the names I need to research and the body of information that I can try to find. But if you guys just add your information at a minimum, get yourselves there. If we can put our information in the 1880 census and the 1870 census, identify your family member, and from the ancestor page, every person gets a page ID. So you're just going to copy that ID in the spreadsheet. And that lets them know that someone has said, this is my ancestor. I'm going to take ownership of this family and at least put my information here. And this is what I want us all to be able to do. Did that help you with that, Dr. Shelley?
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Oh.
Joni, did that help you to understand where the link was and all that stuff for me? Now
Yes, yes, it did. You know, but we just have to keep in mind that how you say, how the path the path that a lot of the slaves, when they came with their owners, how they came from North Carolina. From North Carolina, it's like a trajectory. They went from what it was, North Carolina to no, Virginia to North Carolina, North Carolina. Then they started going out to the Georgia area, and then from Georgia they went to the Alabama, and then it's like a path, and it's just like a train ride. They
Down the
either
Federal Road.
That's it.
Federal Road is what she said.
And what happened is that people have to just have that kind of mindset when they have children. They might be on the train or they might get off the train. So if they get off the family train, they might be left in a certain spot. And when they're married off in a certain spot, dad might give them a couple of slaves. So now that fragments the family. So now what if dad moves somewhere else? So now that daughter is dropped off. She's in another space, in a place, and now the next spot, dad moved. Son might say, okay, dad, I'm going my way.
Right.
So you have to think, and people have to just put that in the back of their minds that just think about just train depots. And our family were chatted off, and we were dropped off like train, like packages in the train station. Or daughter might get one here, or a son might get one here, and it goes and it keeps going like a revolving door. So that's when people are like, well, how did she end up here? Why did she go there? It's because they gave us away like we were packages and prizes, like lottery tickets.
Right. Well,
so that's
their wealth was wrapped in us, bottom line, at the end of the day.
bingo.
Because when emancipation ended, it was so amazing to see you had nothing. All you had was a sheep, a cow, and $150 worth of whatever, because your wealth was wrapped in slaves. So it really shows, the power of what our worth were to them, and the fact that what they're considered, why they kept fighting and holding on. Emily, you had another question or statement? Your hand was raised.
No, I answered that all with thanks, no question.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to start calling a couple of people because I want to know your feedback. Some of you is your first time coming to my session. Again, the takeaway I'm praying you get from me, getting wiki. And while I start asking questions, I'm going to show you. So this is the Jones I'm working on right now. That's driving me insane, because these are all of the slaves that are associated with this one person when he died. These are all of the links that I need, that I researched and the pages that they existed, so that I can just click a link, go to the page, and ensure the information that I'm putting in Wiki. And then these were some deeds that they have. It's so important to see these deeds, and when we don't look at them, we're missing where our family member came from and where they went. So, you know, if I can get me some, I'll show you guys what it looks like to help. But basically, all transcribing is go to the page in family search, write the number. If you see the slave in the book, I will do the research from there. Stephanie, your feedback. I'm related to all of y'all. Make sure you're in my Facebook group, because this is where I would love to be able to go ahead. I want you to talk, and then I'm gonna show you guys what some of the exercises I would love to do. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Yeah, I haven't been on Wiki in a while, but I'm about to get back on that.
Please, please. Thank you, thank you. If you got nothing else for me, get on Wiki, because
Yeah, I'm on there. I put my information in the chat.
okay, perfect. So just work on adding the ancestors, so that we can at least see your information, up until 1870, and then we should be able
Yeah.
to go from there. And if you'd like to do more, I'd be happy to help. If you would like me to add something, throw me a link. I'd be happy to do that, because again, if it's in Alabama, I got you, for real though. Lucille. Miss Lucille, your comments and feedback.
It wouldn't let me unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was just clicking. Okay, it won't let me unmute. Well, I meant to get on in time, and I looked at the clock and it was late, but I have really enjoyed what I've heard, and I do want to get on the wiki.
Get on the wiki train. I'm gonna start
on the wiki train. Yes, I do. And I probably need some help. There was my cousin Karen. She's online. She's probably telling me she's asking you a question and you're not answering. Karen, I was trying to unmute. Anyway, I have enjoyed it, and I have problems finding a lot of my relatives look like they just fell off the face of the earth, and I know they didn't. So I'll be looking forward. I'll be blowing you up so you can help me with finding my family.
If you get in wiki, I got you. That's my ask. A lot, sometimes we're looking for free help. I get it. And you don't understand. I'm trying to transcribe records. But if it's in the area of Alabama that I know I have connections, and I'm looking at every one of these names, all the purple you see on this page, I've created or I've updated. I'm doing a lot of creating. This is Bullitt County right here. So I wanted to show you, and I'm going to ask, I don't know if I asked Michelle or Dr. Binion your feedback, but what I want to do is a session that's going to say whatever, and it'd probably be Monday evenings or late Mondays or late Sundays. You guys let me know what's best, and I'll make it happen. I'm going to say we're going to do Fitzpatrick's. Let's dig in. And what that means is in Bullitt County, here are some Fitzpatrick's. And these are basically the slaves. This is the wrong place for them, but these are basically the slaves who are identified in Bullitt County. Bullitt County did not have slaves. So they really should have said Pike County, honestly. But nonetheless, there is Martin. That means I put it there. There's Martin, but Sylvie, but for the Fitzpatrick's, we'll go to the name, and then we're going to quickly go to a slave page. And if there's no slave page, I haven't touched it. So I don't even know why. Oh, he's black. Jordan is black. But he's in Alabama. He's not in Bullock. So, and I do a lot of cleaning up. I'll go in there. I'll be like, why is this Bullock County, Alabama? Nothing in here says Bullock. Maybe there is a census down here. There it is. I knew it had to be something. Something said Bullock. So what this means is I adopt pages. So there's a process where you can create a page and take your name off. And that means it's orphaned. I'm adopting everything that has no names for Pike County, Macon, Bullock. I'm fighting with myself on Barber, but if it's in Pike and Bullock and Macon and it's orphaned, I'm owning it, white and black, because I'm constructing the connections to these surnames. And basically my goal is I think I know Reuben Phillips definitely got something. These Fitzpatricks ran things because they were some of the first people that came to Alabama. They really were. The Phillips was, Benjamin was, Bird was. They were the first people that came here, and they had slaves galore. And what the goat? I'm still scrolling. So this is Phillips' page. He needs a plantation page. But what we're going to do is we'll look at 1870 and we'll look at the census for 1870 and the census for 1880. And we're going to see, did anyone make it who was a John with the age that we can find? I know for a fact there's a Doc who was a Doc Fitzpatrick. I don't know if this is the Doc because I'm relating to a Doc Fitzpatrick. But the goal is to figure out, is this the person that lived to 1870 or 1880? And if, with your help, I just want us to be able to say, there's Doc, he was over here, and I can say, got him. I'll create a profile for him. And now we're going to lock up all of our family lines this way. And this is how we're going to find our breakthroughs. And so this is a person who's in a family. And I made the notation to find his mother because somewhere I didn't look at all the pages, but I do have the sources. And again, at the bottom of every page are sources. So I want to be able to set up sessions that are like this. So if you're going to fill in the Alabama group, I'm going to create a group say, what surnames should we work on? If you give me some names, I will concentrate in those areas from my database and from WikiTree so that we can work to see if we can find the breakthroughs in those areas. That's what I'm willing to try to do. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Michelle, did I ask you your feedback? I think she dropped off.
No, you did not.
Your feedback,
This
ma'am.
was really interesting and very I really enjoyed it. I know how to create profiles. I have a bunch of mine out there already. I need to do more. And I recognized a name that you just had on one of your profiles on WikiTree, the name Ritter. I don't know if it's the same person, but someone named Ritter was enslaved with my third and fourth grade grandmother with Jacob Swope. Don't know if it's the same person, but he died right around the time that she was 1838, or he, I think it was a she. Ritter might have been a female. So I don't know if there's a connection or not, but I just noticed the name Ritter.
What area was it? It was either Butler or Pike. Those are the only places I've been having on the screen.
I didn't catch it. You changed it right when I just noticed it.
What was the name? Did you remember the
Ritter? Ritter. I know I didn't see the name either because it changed too quickly for me to notice that.
What was your focus area?
Lawrence County, Alabama. Jacob Swope.
So I'm gonna show you how to search in WikiTree. What's simple if you're trying to see if a profile already is created for the enslaver, let's say.
That's the first name, Ritter.
Oh, it was a Swope?
So it was an enslaved person, I believe, that you had. Hold up. It's two O's.
Okay,
when it's two O's, that's the enslaved person. That's the enslaver. When it's one O, it's not the enslaver.
That's fine. I just wanted to see.
It's Jacob Coon.
These are all of the second one? That one?
Yes, second one, sorry.
That's all right. See how quickly we can try to find these profiles?
Yep, I know how to, yeah.
Yeah, I'm speaking.
It's the list of the enslaved names that, well, if they have them on there. That's something I was planning on working on.
Don't. They may. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll say, here is the will.
Yeah.
But they won't give you the links. So that's why, and see how no one has so someone created it and then they removed themselves.
Yeah, so that's something I planned on doing at some point, but I never got around to it.
And then look how he's related to me.
Oh wow, it shows that.
Yeah, that's why I love WikiTree, is because
that's something new they added on there then, huh?
Huh?
That's something new they added?
No, it's an app. It's in the little app store that they have that you can add. And someone said to me, do you know if you're a plant to genet? I'm like, I don't even know what that is. It's still whatever it is. Apparently I'm it.
So we must be related through him then, through the Harris line.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so we should connect at some point because I have the list of everything if it's enslaved.
Awesome. Now, please, you guys, make sure you are my friend. I'm sorry, my friend. Make sure you are in my Facebook group, Descendants of Bullitt County. This is where I do all of the core of my conversing. And I'm going to put a poll in here that says, what surname should I start working on first in Wiki? And then I can do and tell me your location. Yes. Or just tell me the surname. And then you can make a comment of the location, because if it's somewhere like Lawrence, I'm not versed in there, but I can look and see if family was from my area that links to them over there. We have to learn to stop just counting. We're not related to someone in a county when it could have been a relative that could have been over their grandson, nephew, whatever. They gave grandkids slaves, so we just have to be willing to look everywhere.
I have one more question for you.
Sure.
I did a couple of searches. I have a few family members that match you besides myself, and I did a couple matches, search matches to see, and we have Stinson's and Fitzpatrick matches. Just a couple that I pulled already. So there's like about 5 or 6 of us that match you. Match you and a couple other family members that you have.
That's why I reached out to y'all and was like, we gotta talk, you swopes. I know I have Lanika. That's who I have in my tree, Lanika Swope.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So Swope's connected to roaches as well as what, 2 O's.
Yeah, so it would be the Harris line.
Interchangeable. We got to remember it's also interchangeable.
Yeah.
So Lanika is in my tree, and there it is. There it is. So remember I said I was a Harper?
Mm-hmm.
So my Agnes Harper was a breeder, fortunately. And so this is through Agnes Child Turner and Adeline, and up there through Kate, and there's where Lanika comes into play. So you're relating through not roads, but it's through, this line here.
Okay.
Through Agnes. And Agnes butts up into the Wootons.
Mm.
And that's why we probably go all the way further back, because she is a descendant somewhere of a Wooton, and then their line does this back here.
Okay.
And Wootons and Paces. This name right here, Paces.
I've heard the name Pace before.
Bradfords. Yep. There you go. So that's where we're coming in, and you see how far back it goes, 1500s.
I got Pace as well.
Yep. That's why I said, and check and see if you have Wooten, Wooten.
I haven't seen a Wooten.
You searched?
No.
Don't go by go by what you can search.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yes, I do.
But yeah, and then Leslie. So that's where I was able. And I saw Lanika. I know I saw Lanika for sure. But you see how far back that goes. And that's how come I said when I add them to my tree, I can set it and forget it. I don't gotta look no more. I ain't gotta look no over here. I found every grandparent. I can move on. I gotta find
how do you verify this information? Where does this information come from? I mean, are these from other people's trees? Is this from other people who have done similar research?
These are DNA matches.
Okay.
So let me say this. Let me start first. I found.
I'm sorry, I came in late, so I don't want to repeat anything that you already did.
I didn't talk about this part.
Okay.
So remember, first, I'm going to start with building my ancestors to 1870. So after I built my ancestors to 1870, and what happened here, for example, why I said she was a breeder, because these are all her children.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness.
These are all her children, and 2 of them were mulattoes, and so Harper, Houghton, Wood, Leslie. Alexander is my grandfather. He's my 4th grade. He's my 3rd great grandfather. And his mother is Agnes. But then when I started looking at all the records that I started looking for, I was like, wait a minute, Willie Ann Houghton, this was Tiffany King line, I think. And then, hold on. And then in Ancestry, I did this. I started adding matches. Eric Palm, he was probably one of my first ones. And Eric and I match and Jed match.
Where is this? Is this your ancestry table?
This is my ancestry page, yes.
Okay.
So you click on notes and it opens up a section where you can have comments.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I started in Ancestry trying to add comments of how I'm relating to people. So I have their tree, then I have how they're related to me. Then when I look in their tree, I'm like, oh, that's where this connection is coming from. So Ancestry, without a doubt, helped me to understand those relationships. But I had did the work to find the ancestor. Then I built the tree of the enslaver, because that was the big part. Building the tree of the enslaver and trying to figure out where was he at, who is his children, who had slaves, and then how am I connected, and then all of the DNA matches. So you know, all of this hardcore work was done first, then the DNA helps to solidify it so that when I add them to my tree, I can try to figure out how it's making sense. And the goal is this kind of body of work is going to go in Wiki, because you guys would never know any of this. And if you put your information in Wiki, I will now see you. So please tell your body of friends, cousins, and people, we got to get in WikiTree. There's so much work being done on here under the auspice of the Black Heritage Project. I really have to highlight that, because WikiTree is a collective body of information, but the Black Heritage Project is about the enslaved individuals, and that's where we fall. And there's amazing work being done over here. And literally, matter of fact, I'm going to show you what was done before I go, because I love this guy. I give him props everywhere I go. I'm from that generation that learned how to give people props for the work that they've done, and I don't take away from anything anyone has done. Tonga, if I could ever spell it right. Okay, so James Gibbons, this guy right here. I wonder if no, it's going to show me his page. I don't want your page, James. I need a Tonga. So Ataka County slave owners. So he did all of this.
Wow.
I was like, wait a minute, what? And then this is just the slave owners. There's 661 profiles done. This is what I'm trying to do for Bullitt County. And then, and anything purple I've touched, because it and actually the formants cross over into the Betzels, Bowlings, and that's where Raya was on earlier. He connects with me 2 different ways, and one of them is Glenn. Harriet Betzel was a Glenn, and I never would have found that out had I not looked in the Taga, and I looked at a deed record in Pike County. I'm sorry, Pike County had a deed that Harriet Betzel represented someone. I was like, and a brother said, Harriet is my sister. And I said, my God, you are a Glenn. Okay. So now I could understand who she is. And so now I know the Glens are some people I need to pay attention to.
Let me ask you a practical question. I know that your focus, your source information is mostly people with DNA shared in Macon County. I mean, in Bullock County. But Bullock wasn't created until like 1880, 1890?
30.
1830?
1865. Sorry.
1865. And it was created from Macon. So
It was created from the lower part of Macon, the southern tip.
Right.
It was really created from Pike.
Right.
70% was
okay.
Pike.
All
so
right,
that's
but
why I've been researching Pike.
And then you went into Pike, and then now you're starting to go into Macon. Are you intending to flesh out more Macon?
Oh yeah, but the problem is, again, this is where you missed. So this is the database that I have. I have 2,000 names in this database.
From where?
That I've transcribed the records of Pike County.
Okay, Pike County. Okay.
But remember, Pike County people had children in Macon and Bullock and Montgomery.
Right, certainly.
So all of this is hitting information that's hitting the areas of your research.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering what came first, Macon or Pike?
Pike.
Pike came first? Okay.
Pike was first. And Pike was the body of it. Pike was created, I think, in about 1819, 1820, and then Macon came about 1830.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So anything pre-Macon is Pike. So
okay.
That's why I took the charge to do Pike first.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, but my family is Bullitt, Pike. My family, core family is Bullitt, Macon. That is my focus. That's my focus. But because Pike had the larger body of information, I started there. These are Smiths. I'm in no hurry to get to Smiths. These are all the Smiths that are in my database that, I'm going to be adding profiles to Wiki. So again, and I will show real quick the record that what I'm trying to work on for volunteers. So Wiki has offered me a volunteer, WikiTree group. I'm in a WikiTree collective group. They have offered me someone who is willing to transcribe, but it's daunting. And, being able to see slaves on every one of these pages is a lot, but it's the body of what we have to do in order to find our breakthroughs. So I've created a spreadsheet of the book, and all I'm looking for is people to go in here and say, well, what page got the word slave? You ain't got to do nothing else. But this is Macon. This is right here is straight Macon. This is all of the information for Macon, that if someone does that while I'm transcribing, when I come here, I can start banging on all this information. So that's what I'm doing. But again, if transcribing is not your passion, put your information in here. And at a minimum, I will be happy with that, to be able to see that we're able to contribute to this huge initiative that's being done. Audrey, you have not provided feedback.
Hi, I'm sorry. My camera for some reason has stopped working again.
That's all right.
Most of the information that I'm interested in, I'm actually from Alabama. I'm from Montgomery. Actually, when you were there in August, I flew in at the same time, and I wanted to get in contact, but we were really busy. But you mentioned the Floyds and the Simmons, and the Simmons is one of my major brick walls. My 3 times great grandmother had all her kids were mulattoes, and they're all Simmons. And she never used that name. She, on her marriage certificate, it has Mary Alice Agnes, but she went by Agnes Birch. So I have any record of her being a Simmons, but all of her kids were mulattoes, and they were all Simmons. And I can't seem to break through that wall. And
let me tell you what's amazing is I just discovered how I may be a Simmons.
Yeah.
By transcribing Pike. And I told Emily, I was like, wait a minute, this is Simmons. Where is this coming from? And it's tied into the Stinson informant line for me. So I know that profile is in Pike, and it's in Pike slaves and that kind of thing. So yeah, these are all the things that I know I'm familiar with because I'm hitting these names in these records. So go ahead.
Yeah, and I already I've had a wiki page for a long time. I just never did anything with it. But once I saw you're on Facebook saying that you're going to do it, I went back, and so yeah, I'm going to go in and try to see if I can upload my JED copy.
Please. Oh my God, that would be so amazing. And then if you just give me your profile, then I can look at, all of you guys as ancestors, and they'll have pages. And now you don't have to do the individual body of the work. All the pages will get created. You might need to clean it up, but what we need to see is the pages. And then maybe we can say, the first session I think I'm going to do is, do you know who your 1870 people are? Let's go put them on the spreadsheet. And that way we can lock and load that. Then the next one is, what surnames can we work on to be able to craft it out of the census and your connections and the slave profiles, looking at those last names. And every day I'm going to be adding these body of surnames, but I will switch to the names that are important to you, then the alphabetical listing that I'm doing. Annette, Did you see me talk about the Fitzpatricks that I added to WikiTree?
I saw that you attended and you expect to address that in the future. But I did not see your remarks about the background on that family.
Okay, I'm gonna put.
And I'm going to go back and look at the presentation when it shows up on YouTube. So, you know, I will be doing that.
Okay, I'm gonna add Makaja. That's what we talking about? Stinson, or you need Fitzpatrick. Benjamin. There was a bunch of Fitzpatricks. I'm gonna
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna try to find. Oh, you know what? Mary Sarah. You can traverse
Mary
across
Sarah Rebecca.
Yep. Because I think you looked at it, Mary Sarah.
Oh no, I know a lot about that particular line. That was Elam Fitzpatrick's.
That's who I want. Yeah, his
people.
Yep.
And they left Georgia and settled in Macon.
Yep.
After some more of those, his uncles and aunts showed up over there in Pike.
Right. What was amazing about his line that was so funny, you and I talked about, he gave all of these children to a child that couldn't possibly be his based on the dates when she was born and when he got with her, unless they were sneaking and creeping.
Mary Sarah?
Yes.
That was his second wife. That was his wife was Mary Fitzpatrick. Mary. Yeah, Harwell. Right. Correct.
Right. And so you're gonna read the little story. Let me find it. You're gonna read the little story I put on. I thought, it's on Elam's.
But Mary was married before she married the Fitzpatrick.
She was a Jones, correct.
Right, correct. Okay.
But what happened with that, when you look at, I wrote a little story on that page, and I'm waiting for somebody to have a fit. So Robert Jones died 1835. Put the profile in the chat. So he died 1835. Mary Jones married Elam 1837. When Mary Elam so she had already had Mary Ann Rebecca Jones 1831, and Mary Sarah was born 1835. 2 months later, Robert Jones died.
Okay.
And he didn't marry, Elam didn't marry Mary until 2 years later.
That's possible.
No, the records is going to be on the page. So he gave all those slaves, but biologically, based on time frame, unless they were sneaking and creeping, that wasn't his child.
Oh, you saying Mary Sarah Rebecca was not Elam's child?
No, she was born 2 years before they married.
Ah, okay.
And she was born 2 months after he died. Robert Jones died. She was born.
Mary Sarah Rebecca.
Yes, she was born 2 months after Robert Jones died.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
So I put that on the story. So I'm waiting. Like I said, I'm waiting, but the records is the records.
Right.
Unless he was sneaking and creeping because we wasn't there. But that means, of course, this family line is tied to Robert Jones. And then I traversed Robert Jones, at least trying to add, I didn't add his father. His family, he's a Jones. His whole family line came into Pike, Bullitt, Barber, Macon, these Jones names.
Oh, really? Okay.
Of course, because I'm a Jones. I'm a Jones. We had Jones big time in Bullock and Macon.
But he never had a presence in Alabama that I'm aware of. He was only in Georgia.
Correct. His daddy, his brothers, the slaves. He had enough slaves to bequeath Mary and his daughter. So I'm just saying that when we're trying to understand the crossover or the confusion why we can't break through brick walls, it's because they're crossing each other.
Right. Okay. I get it.
That's all.
I get it. I get the point. And to be perfectly honest, once Robert died, I didn't pay much attention to him because I was more interested in the Fitzpatricks that Mary B married into.
Right, but we got to pay attention to the fact that the slaves that went to the wife and the children,
right,
who came into the Fitzpatrick line.
And I have a drawing about that somewhere, but yeah, I'm clear that there were separate bunches of slaves that she got when Robert died, and then there was a whole nother bunch of slaves that that she got when Elam died.
Right.
So they were Fitzpatrick slaves and they were Jones slaves.
Absolutely.
So I get that part.
Absolutely. So, all right,
Just,
gang.
wait, just to piggyback on the Jones part, my family, my great grandfather, well, my great auntie, she was a Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And let me pull it back how it is. My great grandfather, well, Marty Babe Ruth Jones, who is my great aunt, she married a Robert Jones. And Robert Jones' family came from Calvin Jones, who was born 1864.
Mm-hmm.
And Calvin Jones was married to Margaret Maggie Stinson.
Hello.
Yes. And Margaret Maggie Stinson was Charles Chaz Stinson daughter. Charles Chaz was born 1818. That Charles Chaz.
That's why we're all DNA related.
Now, I'm not seeing the name Charles Chaz. I get it could be a nickname, but there's an 1818.
But Chaz is the nickname. But Charles was the Stinson slave who was born 1818.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
And that's the Charles 1818 who was the son, I think, of 1803, but it's on Wiki.
Yes, but Margaret Maggie Stinson, she married Calvin Jones, who was born in 1864.
Gotcha. And what happens is I don't know your direct connection in family, especially when they got separated. So that's why I would love to be able to see your profiles and to be able to see how they're connecting, because now that's how we make this make sense for us. And I'm giving you the records. I'm giving y'all the records that I can find as best I can. And others are transcribing as well. But maybe something is there that will help you, like that guy, James Gibbons. What he did helped me to find a grandfather, a great grandfather, and his wife. So now I know Charles's wife, who's Ann's mother, or my other ancestor that I got to go to Georgia to find through the Foreman name. So, okay, Rodney. You must come off mute. 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought I was unmuted. In Green, Pike, and Bullitt County. Of course, you know the names that I've mentioned: the Warrens, the Richardsons, the Eldridges, so forth. So you said that just give you some names, and you would look into them. So I'm giving you the names.
You're not giving them to me now. You can give them to me on my Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool beans.
Yeah. So, okay, someone, I don't know if they're still in the group. I thought I put it in here, but I just re-added the Facebook group. If you're not in there, but I am going to create a poll saying I want to work on your 1870, 1880, and we're going to get those connected to WikiTree. And then I'll probably only do a once a month session. I know everybody has things going on, or impromptu if you guys want me to do a little more frequent, because I would love to get your data in Wiki so that I can understand now how it's making sense with what I'm transcribing. Oh, give me the names you want me to hit first and the locations. So I'm going to type 1870, did you find them? And 1880, did you find them? And then the surnames. And the surnames are what I will pull out my database. And that every Fitzpatrick I have in my database is in Wiki. I have
is what
is in Wiki.
Okay.
All of the records, all of the data, and I tried to write it in a story format based on a timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that is in Wiki. I'm working on the Jones name now. So it's going to be interesting to see what's pulling out of these Jones. And if I start seeing weird locations, I'll share that with you guys. Because I hear that Joan has connections to Jones as well. But all of this is just helpful and knowledgeable. And thank you. Yeah, yeah. I'm. Thank you guys so much. I'm glad that what I gave wasn't overwhelming, too much, and we're gonna break through these breakthroughs in 2025, 2026, because all of my data is going in there. Then my focus will be no longer adding it to the database, strictly going into Wiki. Wiki is my new love and my focus because I trust it now to know. And I'm paying attention. I'll delete this out of my talk, but I'm paying attention to if something's getting deleted or removed because I'm not playing around. I'm putting, as you can see, I'm putting a lot of work into making sure you guys can possibly find what you're looking for. But all right, I don't like to keep people. It is 8:30. I thank you all so much for giving me your time and for coming. Let me add my YouTube channel. Well, you'll see it, but in case you want to just educate yourself, I did the Native Americans. I was told I was a beast. Thank you, Annette. I was like, oh.
I'm telling you, I was astounded.
I was like, oh, that is so nice. My goal is, look, I'm trying to make sure we can find these breakthroughs, but researching Alabama, Macon County, and the Native American piece was eye-opening because all that was in deeds. And I still have to get to the wills. All that was in the deeds. And I started seeing Native Americans giving up their land, and then and then a free person of color who fought for her freedom. She was Cherokee. Her mother was Cherokee. She was living in the Creeks, and she was given a free pass to live with the Creeks in Macon County, Alabama, in Fort Hull. And I was like, my God, this story right here is the bomb.com. It was really an amazing story. But I did a 4-part session. Tonight concludes that 4-part. The channel has all the other 3 parts. The one focused on Melungeon, free people of color. The one before that focused on all of the Native American research and how we can find the breakthroughs when trying to figure that out. And I did a whole GEDmatch, how to use GEDmatch to find your Native American and then find people who match you with that ancestor. So I did a GEDmatch on that to help us figure out how to triangulate that. And I forgot what the first one was. It was so long ago, but it was opening up to about Alabama and the history of, that was about the Trail of Tears. I did a part about the Trail of Tears, and we're the pre-Trail of Tears because our family stayed. And what is the knowledge about the pre-Trail of Tears? So if you have time, just listen to it or watch it. It really, I thank you all for giving me your time hanging in here. Every one of you message me in my Facebook group because we got to stay connected. And WikiTree is where we're going to find these breakthroughs. I can't wait. Everybody, thank you so much.
All right.
Pieces.
How do you leave?
I'll kick you out.